Alright, so I know that there's a whole bunch of people who really hate what the Timeless Child has done to Doctor Who lore. But honestly, I don't get it. Apart from casting its first female Doctor, this episode in particular is possibly Chibnall's greatest contribution to the show's history. Not only does it fix the whole 12 regenerations thing, but also thanks to the Timeless Child, the Doctor is a mystery again, which I kind of thought fandom wanted. But then again, trying to work out what fandom wants is like banging your fist against an Asbantian wall. So for a long time, we all thought the Doctor had been born on Gallifrey, just like any other Time Lord. But now, all that was turned on its head, and the usual quarters of fandom were outraged. What about canon? They cried, unironically referring to a show that never paid too much attention to canon itself, and which famously made up most of its lore on the go. Time Lords? Who are they? Find out in the War Games, the very last adventure of the second Doctor, 5.5 years after Doctor Who first aired. Gallifrey? What's that? Find out in 1973's The Time Warrior, during the third Doctor's final season, 10 years after Doctor Who first aired. How many regenerations? 12? Says who? Robert Holmes in The Deadly Assassin, another 3 years after that. You get the picture. But actually, the introduction of the Timeless Child concept, of the Doctor's origins as an orphan from some unknown place or dimension, taken in by a scientist of ancient Gallifrey and treated as a lab experiment to find out the secret of the foundling's death-defying capabilities, neatly and thankfully fixes that annoying regeneration limit thing, which has been a massive weight around the show's neck since it was first introduced, and then again when Moffat saddled us with it once more at the end of Matt Smith's tenure. While it might be the case that for other Time Lords 12 regenerations is all they get, perhaps a limitation that we can imagine as a side effect of embedding the Doctor's alien genetic structure into their own, as far as the Doctor is concerned, well, they might simply regenerate indefinitely. This now adds a real edge whenever the Doctor faces a mortal event. Will they change? Will they become someone else and go on? Or will they simply die this time? Never knowing, yet still acting in a self-sacrificing way in the face of injustice, that makes the Doctor an even more heroic character than ever. Moffat missed a trick when he simply had the Doctor gifted a whole new regeneration cycle, instead of just having the 12th Doctor come into being, surprised that he even existed at all. How much more weight would that then have given to the question of whether or not the Doctor was a good man? There's nothing like a renewed sense of precarious mortality to cause such existential questions to loom that much larger. Anyway, liberation from arbitrary numbering aside, the events of the Timeless Child also adds to the sense of the Time Lord elite being a rather nasty, duplicitous bunch. Think about it. In order to hide the truth of the Doctor's origins, the Time Lords have apparently wiped the Doctor's memory after every 12 regenerations. How many times they've done this is unknown to everyone but a select few, presumably acting behind the scenes to control Gallifreyan society. I think it's safe to assume that this suitably shadowy cabal was still pulling the strings right up to the end of the 11th Doctor's life in 2013's The Time of the Doctor. Those Time Lords probably couldn't believe their luck when they were begged to send him a brand new life cycle, knowing full well he'd regenerate anyway. Sure, they wouldn't get to wipe the Doctor's memory this time, but, well, they could have another go 13 more lives down the line, so no problem there. So why not just bung down an orange cloud of magic Gallifrey glitter for the look of the thing and let the Doctor's strange nature take its course? Whatever the motivations, the important thing is that now Doctor Who can potentially go on forever. Hooray! Now, I also think we can connect the Doctor's new mysterious biological nature to bi-generation too. Because I'm essentially a child, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I have an idea about it. A simple one, and it goes like this. Bi-generation is a myth in Time Lord society. It's a myth because it has happened only twice before. Once, a very, very long time ago, in front of more than just one individual and in uncontrolled circumstances, making it therefore difficult to entirely cover up. And second, when that pesky, sinister Time Lord elite deliberately caused it to happen in order to create their very own puppet agent. In both instances, the Time Lord who bi-generated was the Doctor. The latter instance led to the events fans imagine taking part during the mythical Season 6B, where a post-trial second Doctor is forced to work covertly for the Time Lords, except in this instance, instead of being granted a stay of execution to carry out the Time Lord's bidding, the Doctor is divided, with the split-off second Doctor becoming the seconded Doctor, working as a reluctant agent for the Time Lords, while the newly regenerated third Doctor is exiled to Earth. The first instance, however, the one that became the root of the myth of bi-generation, gave us something else entirely. That's if we want it to, and I do. It gave us the Master. Yep, that's my theory. The Master is the Doctor. In my mind, this bi-generation would have happened when the Doctor was in child form, and the resulting children were then separated and not reunited in any way until each of them had regenerated a whole bunch of times more. I like to think that this would explain a couple of things. First, I think the idea of the Master being a bi-generated iteration of the Doctor provides not just a reason for their endless fascination with one another, the way they are almost always inextricably drawn to the other, but it also perhaps allows us some insight into why, on more than just one occasion, the Master has wanted to either take the Doctor's body or simply just become the Doctor. They want to go home, or at least be allowed their unique existence. Not only that, but at various points of their existence, I reckon the Master has actually remembered all of this. I'm thinking specifically of that moment at the end of 1984's The Planet of Fire, where, just as he is consumed by the flames of Sarn, he beseeches the Doctor, "Won't you show mercy to your own..." but is unable to finish the question. For a long time, many of us believed the Master was going to say, "Brother," but perhaps he was going to say, "Self." The second thing I think that this idea of the Master being a bi-generated Doctor points to is the Master's seemingly uncanny ability to survive way beyond anything your basic Time Lord could. It seems like, just like the Doctor, the Master has something of the same ability to perpetually regenerate, even if he's often messed himself up by interfering with the process. And why wouldn't he try to interfere? He would have also been lied to by the Time Lords. He would have also believed he was restricted to just 12 regenerations. Heck, in 1983's The Five Doctors, they even offered him the same lie that they offered the 11th Doctor of a brand new regenerative cycle, again, knowing full well that it would just happen anyway. It's an intriguing possibility, even if it only exists in my head, and it's one that means that the Master can always come back. It means that they can, just like Doctor Who the programme, thanks to the Timeless Child, can go on forever. And I'm absolutely okay with that. Oh yeah, that whole Rani bi-generation thing that RTD farted out in desperation. Well, okay, I'm going to say that she found out about the Doctor being the origin of regeneration a long time ago. And during the events of both the Mark of the Rani and Timon the Rani, she took advantage of the situation to nick a little bit of the Doctor's blood and tissue for later experimentation and study. I'd say she was smart enough to isolate the right genetic markers to give herself limitless regenerations too, which means that she can also go on forever. And I am absolutely okay with that too. So, yeah, the Timeless Child, an absolute winner.